Global greetings, and we are live with another edition of the Topics here on Real Everything Agriculture. But this evening we have an exclusive edition of the Topics. Want to say good evening, Oli. Want to say good evening, Liamiga, the indigenous names of the islands known as Nevis and St. Kitts. Want to say good evening to the entire Eastern Caribbean. Our prayers are with you depending on which territory you're in, especially our brothers and sisters in Haiti. Want to say good evening to the people in Jamaica recovering from, the storm that they would have dealt with a couple of months back. Still going through some tough times. Want to say good evening to the people of Cuba, also Venezuela, with what they're going through these times. I also want to say good evening, good morning, good night, depending on where you may be geographically. One of those greetings may apply to you. This evening, we have a special guest this evening, Santoy Barrett. And we're going to learn this evening a lot about his life, his story, the music, the journey, and some of the plans he has for the future. Also with us, my usual co-host, Shaba's Bankie King, and we would, have Bankie give his opening remarks, and then we would give Brother Santoy Barrett an opportunity to introduce himself. Also, before I do that, I also want to say a very special good evening to the folks on the Facebook feed, on Twitch TV, and on the YouTube platform. We are streaming simultaneously on those platforms. Want to say to you, all of you who are listening this evening, how many of you may come on the platform this evening? All we are asking and encouraging you to do is to go over to the YouTube platform, maybe 10 seconds, subscribe to Real Entertainment Network, click on the notification bell so that you can be informed every time we have a program, like and share. That's all we're asking. It's that easy. Give thanks, Bankie. Greetings. Welcome to another edition of the Topics.
Yahsonn, greetings to you and greetings to our guest Santoy, Mr. Barrett, and greetings to those who are listening here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and the neighboring islands. Just want to say, definitely we appreciate you guys tuning in. It's a Friday, it's where the weekend start for most people, and you choose to listen to Real Entertainment Network and the special edition of the Topics. So we really appreciate you guys and expecting you guys' input, whether your phone calls or your messages and stuff. Just been a part of the show and keep supporting us and making one of the number one show within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and going globally and internationally. So we greatly appreciate you guys. And the show could not be this successful without you guys listening and having the inputs. And that is what it's all about. It's a community show, and we're here to each of us have a story to tell, and anyone can tell the story and stuff like that. So our guest this evening is a household name coming from Kodakode as a young lad. You always hear the name Santoy, musician, but you never, as a youth, you don't know these people and stuff like that until you grow up in a sense and you end up and know this great specimen of a human being and full of talent and stuff and well respected when you see him move around and realize is an ancient person with ancient musical talent, and these are things that you can't put a price on. And it's important when you have people like these around still to capture and make sure their talent is passed on for the next 1,000, 2,000 years. These are very important. Can't we lose this kind of... Because one thing what amazed me in Georgia, we hear the string band, and when you hear the string, they call them hillbillies. We call it hillbillies music. It's just like the string band. It always it's the same thing, Bridget. So those are with music, and we don't realize these things because but it's the same kind of instruments and the same thing in the dancing. If you look at the similar, so it definitely looking forward for this reasoning. You know what I mean? With Mr. Barrett, you understand, and go forward into that and see what we can learn. And we have been he's traveled all over the world and played some great musicians and stuff like that. So definitely it's an honor. Never know you're the end up as a youth admiring someone and then you have the same time interviewing that person. It's just like how the universe works in a sense like that. So it's just a beautiful thing. So I'm greatly appreciate that, and welcome again to the Topics and Real Entertainment Network, Mr. Barrett.
Yeah,
thank you, brother. Thank you.
I wanted to, as usual, when we have our guests, generally we would take up a bit of time to do a little brief bio, and so I'm going to give a little highlight about Mr. Barrett, and then you can add or correct anything that I present in the short little bio so that the people can have a little idea of who we are about to have this true conversation with. We usually say it's a true conversation because we're not conning anybody, so it's not a conversation, it's a true conversation. But we're gonna I'm gonna share a little bit of information with the listening public, and then Mr. Barrett would be able to add or correct anything that's mentioned, and then we get into his brief introduction as well. So Santoy Barrett is a renowned musician, educator, and band leader from Nevis, or St. Kitts and Nevis, celebrated for his work in Caribbean indigenous string band music and brass traditions. Career highlights: he founded the Leeds Majestic Orleans Entertainment since 2001 in New York, specializing in string band music, with the group releasing 2 CDs. Barrett served as band director and music educator at schools like Yahsonn Secondary, Gingerland Secondary, and Lynn Jeffers High School between the years 2001 and 2008, where he developed curricula, taught theory, and established programs, including a school string band. His performance resume includes trombonist and arranged a role with groups like Eddie Matt and the J.S. Brass in 1976 to 1979, the Multinational Force Brass Band 1991 to 2008, touring with Soca King Arrow and Santoy Barrett and the Casanova Band 2001 to 2012. And that's just a brief bit of information that we would have researched. And I'm sure as we go through this conversation, this discussion this evening, this reasoning this evening, that we're gonna learn a lot more. So, Mr. Barrett, with that brief bio, I would want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about Santoy Barrett, the little boy growing up, where he probably was born, a little bit about your backstory, maybe even before you even got into music. And then we could get into some of the meatier things. Because, sometimes, my brother, I could share a little bit about your story based on the research, but nobody else can tell your story better than you. And sometimes,
That's
we
right.
have people around us. We have people around us, and we take them for granted to some extent. But then it's only when you get that opportunity to share some of the experiences and some of the knowledge and wisdom that is within a humble brother that just moves around. It can have a lot of impact. And so you're on the platform, the world is listening, and we want to give you the opportunity to give us that opportunity to learn things that we ourselves didn't even know about either. So the floor is yours. You have to correct anything from the bio and get into some of who Mr. Barrett is.
Thank you, brother Yahsonn, Tafari, and Bankie. Yes, you pretty much have summed it up. I don't know how much more I could add to that. I really appreciate it. Santoy Barrett is my artistic name. And basically, I've been a music ambassador for St. Kitts and Nevis for the last 50 years, going on 51 right now, actually. Yeah, I started out as a youth in Government Road and moved to Quadric and Nevis, to one of the villages in the town area of Nevis. And I started in music at a very, very early age. At like 7 years. At the age of 7, I learned to taught myself how to play. Of course, it started off with the sardine can. My big brothers would bring in like a guitar at one time, another time they'll bring a banjo. They'll leave them there for like a days, and I would have the opportunity to experiment when they're gone. So I taught myself to play the banjo. At the age of 8 years old, I remember my brother whole stock of steel bands in the yard at Quadric. Apparently, there was a philanthropist called Mrs. Eversley. I don't know if your Bankie and you, Yahsonn, had ever heard of Mrs. Everly. But Mrs. Everly was a philanthropist, and she bought a brand new stock of steel bands, Rebel Steel Orchestra. Rebel Steel Orchestra is renowned for representing Nevis in the 60s and 70s. They have toured Canada and parts of the United States. I don't know if they still exist. But anyway, they gave away, not they gave away, well, I acquired them to a small amount of money, the old stock of equipment of steel pans. And they got a brand new stock from Mrs. Everly and my brother, I should say, for a small old stock of the old of pans. I brought them in the yard, a very special day. That was a blessed day for me. And every day is a blessed day, but that was an extra blessed day. And they had steel pans, second pans, guitar pans, cellos, bass. Within a year, I learned to play all those pans because they were there. And that was like a special time for me. But anyway, I'm right after the Christina tragedy. Mother moved us to St. Kitts for a second husband. And we used to go back and forth. As a result, I lost a brother and a sister in that tragedy. But not different. We moved to St. Kitts. So I actually St. Kitts. I was 13 years when I moved to St. Kitts. My mother, being one of the old-fashioned type, she believed something that later on I found out. She thought that music, if I got into music, is going to really hold me back and if I'm really doing good in my academics. And I, as a youth, I believed that too. But it's wrong. No. It's the total opposite. I believe a lot of people in the small islands used to believe that. Change. You guys are much younger, so you come in a time where and we all know that music benefits the individual student in the school of music, benefits the student in every respect of the word, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And if you go on to become a great musician, they benefit you economically too. um, so from 13 until 16, going on 17, I didn't play any music. And at the age of, 6.5, I got into a class with Mr. Edgar Bridgewater. Most of you in the local and maybe regional, and some of you who are kitchens and divisions would have heard of Mr. Edgar Bridgewater. He was an educator, one of the early educators who taught concurrently Mr. Valmont, who was the captain of the band at the Defense Force. So I started with trombone around 16.5 and 17, and after a few months, a band called Grand to Express. Most of you would know Grand Express. They recruited me as a trombonist, and that's where my journey as a trombonist started. I didn't stay long with them because they didn't treat me right at all. They took advantage of me. Didn't pay me, work me for a whole day. So that's all right. I didn't hold it again. I got started and I got that and walked out. And all the bands in St. Kitts and Nevis wanted me when I walked out on them. Everyone. I'm sure people in the Virgin Islands and the feedback I got when I started traveling with Element and the Jerry Brass, they wanted me too in the Virgin Islands and St. Martin and Trinidad. As a matter of fact, when I went to high school, last year, senior high school, with Grandish to record with, many of you would remember St. Kitts Arrow from St. We did a rehearsal at Joy. Some of you would have remembered Joy Pass of the Trinidad. And I could never get the way the band members of Joy Lewis were getting on. They would say, oh God, they were almost beyond, they were beside themselves. They were in a buzz. Hey, look at the trombone, it's so God. Look at the trombone. I was always smaller, a man of physical stature. So 16.5, I probably looked like I was 12 years old. And they were beside themselves, after they realized I was here observing them, just with a smile on my face, because I know they couldn't believe that I playing the trombone. So I know, and from traveling with Elimat, there are times when people come up to me from other bands and say, the manager wants to meet you. And Elimat would get really, I can remember that one time, Trinidad Carnival 1978, this man from Manamassalin. Manamassalin was one of the greatest bands out of Trinidad. They didn't travel, they just traveled around Trinidad, big band. And one of the managers came up to me and said, my band leader wants to meet you, And Elimat heard him, and he said that, and Elimat almost had a fit. And I said, y'all taking away from me. Y'all not taking away from me. Don't want to think that. And the man said, no, we're not trying to take it. I just wanted to meet the manager, or the band leader. We're not trying to take it. And Elimat, as if he didn't even hear nothing the man said. He didn't hear anything he said. He just continued. No, why you think y'all going to take it away from me? No, don't. Elimat wasn't interested in that. I lived in St. Kitts, and I was glad to represent St. Kitts in music. Anyway, I left early in the early 80s, and as soon as I left, I got hooked up with the backing band for the Mighty Sparrow, the greatest calypsonian that has ever lived, in my opinion. And to me, that was a great opportunity. I was going to college at the same time, but I would tour with Sparrow, this backing band, and I became the main arranger, the main musical arranger for Sam and the Caribbean Express backing band for Sparrow. I didn't stay with them long anyway. Money problem. People work you. we have adopted a lot of slave masters' attitudes. That's one of the things. I'm very African centered. I see the world through the African worldview. So pardon me if I rub anybody wrong. But anyway, they say, yeah, good. No, I'm cool. I'm just saying that I'm speaking from my heart. So I stayed from 1982 until 85, writing and arranging for that band. Mighty Sparrow used the arrangers from his country, from Trinidad. We know he's from Grenada, but it says a Trinidadian. So he used arrangers like Frankie McIntosh and Yusuf Belfast, and we all remember Art Dakota, you know. But when it comes to the live music, I was a man for those years. For those years, I created the arrangement. He would bring all these old songs like Education, Village Ram, Dean and Dinah, all of them, and the man would say, "Look, to write out his songs for me." That's how I learned to write. You know, I didn't spend no more than 2 years in the college, and I got fed up and said, "That's it." You know, I could write. I could teach myself to do what I want to do. I got the basics. Right, so, but right after that, I got with Arrow, and that's where I really traveled extensively throughout the planet. A lot of people say that I've been all over the world. When we speak about being all over the world, we're talking about being all over the world where world beat or soca music is being played. It doesn't mean literally all over the world. I've never been to China. And as for Africa, I've only been to one country, but you know what? Africa is that's where I have to go. Africa has 54, as a matter of fact, 55 different countries, and I want to go to all those countries, if not most of them. So I've been to all over. I've been on all the continents except Antarctica, and I've performed all over Europe, all over Canada, the United States, and North America, South America, Brazil, Colombia, Europe, England, Sweden, France, Italy. I've been around, and I've rubbed shoulders with some of the greatest artists out of the Caribbean. Not just calypsonians. I've accompanied all the calypsonians, whether it be Sparrow, Kitchener, to Rose, the Blakey, Melody, Super Blue, Black Stallion, all of them. I've accompanied all of them. And as a result of traveling with Arrow, that did a tremendous amount of good for me. I desired that as a youth, and it happened. I rubbed shoulder with people like Third World, the Wailers, and played on the same stage with all of them. Jimmy Cliff, people like the reggae bands you can think of, Black Uhuru, Burning Spear. They know me just like you guys know me. They may not remember some of them may not remember my name, but they know the trombone man from Arrow, you know, because I hung out with the Rasta, you know, the dreads, them, the reggae people, reggae vibes, you know. Now, I came home to Nevis.
Hold a second.
Yeah.
Hold a second there, because you jumped a little bit from 16, 17. So when you were with Arrow, what kind of age you talking about here when you were backing up Sparrow and Arrow and stuff? Because I know you spoke about 16, 17 in that band, so you left. And then, so just give us a little bit, fit us in between a little bit of that.
Early, I left. Well, in 16, 17, I spent a year with Grandash too. When I went to GI's Brass, I was still 18, I was going at 19. I was the youngest member in the band. And I spent 4 years with them from 76 until 79. Well, that's 3 years, and I was going on 4 years. And then the band break up. So you had two GI's Brass. One was Elimat and the GI's Brass, and the other was the GI Brass International. I was with the GI Brass International. That was the nine of us. I was the main musical arranger, the GI Brass International. And I stayed with them for only a year until I realized I had outgrown those guys by far. And, Kenrick Georges, everybody know who Kenrick Georges is.
Yes.
He wrote the national anthem, the St. Stephen's National Anthem. He was my first real teacher, I would say, in Grandash to Express. So he said one time to me, "Boy, Santoy, you're wasting your talent. You're wasting your talent. Them guys, you don't know them man so far." I thought about it. He didn't influence me. He just opened my eyes. And I realized it's true. I had outgrown them. And, I can't say I was wasting my time. I had outgrown them. And it was time for me to get some formal education and move to a different realm. Because I know I had the talent, raw talent. But raw talent doesn't stand on its own in anything. You got to get education. You got to get formal education, whether it's African-centered education or the Euro-centered education. You got to get. And in this field, music is universal. So I studied classical music, I studied jazz, I studied blues, but most of all, I studied root rock reggae and calypso and soca. Played with a lot of Latin bands too. So early 20s was when I left GI Brass, 22. GI Brass International. I went to the States and decided I got to improve myself. So I spent a couple of years in college, and then I got with the band. I was still in my mid-20s when I got with Sparrow, the backing band for Sparrow, Sam and the Caribbean Express. But I was doing a lot of studio gigs at the time. That's how I was able to support myself. And it's a good thing I did go to college, because in the studio, nobody wastes time. Studio time is too expensive. So if you go in and you can't read it right away, there's no hard feeling. Nobody vexed with you. They say you come out. You know, somebody has gone in who could read it and get it right there. That's the way it was. You know? So I was able to make like $1,000, you know, or $1,200 in about 2 hours time. I remember the first time I told my brother that he was on his job. He worked, an older brother. He worked for the mid-level, one of the corporate America type of people. When I tell him that I make $1,000 in 2 hours, man, he was beside himself. What? I boss about to use his F word, and he said, man, you know how long it take me to make that? In 2 weeks. I said, well, I'm in this field. It takes me 2 hours. It takes you 2 weeks to take that $1,000. It takes me 2.5 hours. I mean, it just happened. I mean, with musicians, however, music, the good thing is that you could make a lot of money quickly, but you don't have steady work as in corporate America, or you have a regular job. So that is the risk of being, and to all the young people out there who are planning to become, who are aspiring to professional musicianship, and to have who wants to have a
seems as if there is a delay in his internet. You're having a delay in your internet, so we didn't hear the last sentence that you probably would have mentioned. So we're hearing you now, though. So if you want to
let me say it again.
Yes.
Yes. What I'm saying, this is particularly to young musicians, male or female, anywhere, whether locally or regionally or internationally. I'm saying to you that you better be committed, because I know for sure that music is a tough field. I mean, today now, in this day and age, is much easier, because if you're technologically savvy, you can make a living. But it still is a very competitive field. So when you get into this field, make sure you're committed. Anyway, I want to move on. After traveling with Arrow for a lot of years, almost 20 years, I decided to get out of the sky, because we were always up in the sky. And trust me, a lot of people say, oh my God, it's so good. You travel all over the world. That must be nice. Oh yeah? It's not all nice. Oh no, it's not all nice. How long you think it take from here to Japan? From New York to Japan is 16 hours. Imagine being up in the air for 16 hours. Now we fly to from New York to San Francisco. That's 5 hours. And then from San Francisco to Japan, that's another almost 10 and a half, almost 11 hours. Yeah. Imagine being up in the sky for them kind of hours. From here to Italy, it's about 14 hours. 11 hours from here to France or England and them places. We performed for the King of Morocco. You're talking about almost 15 hours from New York. You know, so I get tired of being up in the sky, and I decide to come back home and pass on, you know, my skills. I'm at this point now. When I came home, I realized that none of the guys could read music, and they asked to accompany the band and teach them how to read. That particular band was Casanova, one of the bands in this federation. I taught them to read music. I taught them to read the chords, and you know, when you're reading chords and you're playing an instrument like a bass, you don't need to read a lot of notes, except the bass. In today's time, the bass has to read just the letters and the brass players. but keeping the guitars don't have to. But it's all better that you do. So I got them ready, and they did a pretty good job. They did a very, for people who to formal music or written music. Because of that, I ended up rehearsing Sonians and writing for many cantions and conducting the band for eight consecutive time out of the 12.5 years that I about 8 times. And I enjoyed it. I didn't make a lot of money, but I didn't make much money. It was more free music for the people, free effort, But I went out again to the United States because I was working for the Cultural Development Foundation. I was in a car accident back in, when was that? Some years back. Anyway, that accident created, the doctor said, yes, got to be more than likely that's what it is. Because I'm a super fit person. Super fit is the word. I'm the only man for many, many years, from 2001 until 2011 when I got into the accident. Ran the whole beach. It's one of the finest beaches in the entire Caribbean, probably in the world. And I could speak, and I speak with a certain degree of authority because I've been there and I've done that. I've been there, I've seen. So I would run from this 5 Mile beach from one end to the other end and back almost every night. Sometimes 6 nights a week, And I got into that accident, and that's what caused the hernia. And I had to go to the United States to the proper the operation. I preferred to go where the technology was far more advanced and the facility was far more advanced, and I did. I'm glad I went. So I ended up spending. I wasn't sick all the time, but I ended up spending 12 years out there. My wife decided if I go, she would divorce me and take everything I got. So I I had to stay for a while. And tired of flying. Come back home.
You're breaking up again.
You're breaking up? Okay. Okay.
I'm hearing you.
All right, can you hear me now?
Back again. Yes.
All right. So here's what I say. I with one intent, one intention, and that is to pass on everything that I know. And by the way, I'm far more advanced in my education and my practical and my theoretical and my whole way of development. I'm far more advanced than I was 12 years ago when I left. And with particular emphasis on Nevis in music, theoretically, practically, and experientially. It's another area that I've educated myself in.
Hold on.
African-centered awareness. Breaking up again.
Hold on a second. I want to really take the time to.
You're breaking up.
Thank you. I'm breaking up.
Yeah. Okay, now you're coming in. Yeah, good.
Okay, yeah. So I'm saying I want to thank you for this opportunity to be able to have this reasoning with you, because I am certain, just the way I am intrigued by the wealth of knowledge, experience that you have just by sharing your life experience. It is amazing. And I think that, those who are listening are just as grateful as I am at this point. I am not, and they're listening in. And I'm telling you, we're going to get into now the next side of it, where now you're back here now, because you'd have given the journey from the little boy growing up in Government Road and moving to Craddock Road and then moving on to St. Kitts. And, people would know about a lot more, the elder folks would know about Grand Dash and GS Brass. And I learned a lot more between that, because I didn't know that there was that breakup and you had the Element and the GS Brass and then the GS Brass International. So that's a little bit of information that I would.
Yeah, you guys are young. You're young.
yeah. Because a lot of the younger people might know a lot of these things. Like I would have heard of Grand Dash, I would have heard of the GS Brass, but I never really realized that there was a GS Brass International and Element and the GS Brass, and that there was actually a total difference between the two. So
oh yes. Oh yeah.
great bit of information. It's really an honor to have a brother like you now after doing all that, coming back again
I'm
because you
grateful.
were here. Also in the introduction, I spoke to the fact that you also were a part of the education system here, where you develop curricula
Oh yes.
and so on, programs to teach some of these musicians in the schools. You're back
Right.
again, and you are now looking forward to get into helping to revive some of the string band aspect of it, and also the
Indigenous
brass
music.
section. So, okay, so
All right.
tell us a little about
You missed one.
your.
Mm.
Okay, well, fill that in
Go ahead.
when you get back in, right? But tell us a little bit
Mhm.
about your passion for the indigenous music, and why is it that you feel that it is so important for you to try to save the music and make sure that it is passed on to generations to come.
Very, very well said. Very, very, very important question. Um, indigenous music for me in Nevis and Sink is string band. There's one music that we hear most of the time, but there's another string band music that uses a little bit different instrumentation to accompany the clown's performance. But indigenous music for me is not just string band; it's big drum music too. Big drum music happens to be the accompanying music for the masquerade dancers, and I've devoted myself to both of those. As a matter of fact, um, both of those music because I've done quite a bit of research into where this music originated, how it got here, and how people brought it here from Africa. And after doing quite a bit of many years of research, I realized these forms of music, string band and big drum or masquerade music, were not just forms of entertainment. I used to think that, and I realized how wrong I was. It's not form. Our foreparents, our ancestors were so brilliant. They were brilliant beyond anything that I thought about. And when from the research, I realized what they were doing. What they were really doing more, I mean, it was for a form of entertainment too, and people love it. And it served as a sort of mechanism for an exhale at the end of the year, because at Christmas time is when most of the time you used to hear the string band music. Now you hear it all year round. But when I look into some of the SONGH,
You're breaking up a bit again, Santa. You having a little bit of
where
data
most of
issues.
our people in the
Oh,
Caribbean, also in the
hold on,
United
Mr.
States,
Barrett.
most,
Hold on again, Mr. Barrett.
okay,
You're gonna have to probably give us the next sentence again. I do understand, and
I'm
I want to
holding.
apologize. Yeah, one
That's
second. I just
okay.
want to apologize to the listeners that unfortunately where Mr. Barrett is at the moment, he's not able to have access to Wi-Fi, so he's kind of functioning on the data service, and so it's giving a little bit of delay. It speaks to some of the challenges we have in these parts of the world sometimes, in terms of the technical challenges we may have. But while we have you back again, I'm going to.
My thoughts, yeah. Yeah, so what I was saying is that we thought, most people, and I think most of us still do think, that string band and big drum and the masquerade is all about entertainment. Not at all. Not at all. There's something that is far more important than that. What our ancestors were doing is that they were establishing these art forms as cultural guideposts to enable us to identify exactly where we came from. Now, there may not be exact parallels in West Africa right now, but there are very similar forms of masquerade and the masquerade music and the string band. They're all over West Africa. For example, the big drum music that accompany all the masquerades, them. That music is used as a spiritual worship music in many parts of Africa, like Ghana. I have some friends, university colleagues of mine, who went home to Ghana way back in the late 90s, and they came back, and they brought back videos of worship that, services they had. And what do you think it is? It's a piano or an organ. They may have a guitar, but the bass is what we call the bass drum, the bull drum in the masquerade, and what we call the kettle is the kete, and is the same similar rhythm, very almost identical rhythm that they play in the big drum. So they'll be doing a song like, "Oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in," and they're playing the real big drum music. I say, what? So that big drum music is the spiritual music, is the most spiritual music in West Africa, and it was at the time of the Sanghain Empire, which was at this time when the oppressors, the pale-faced people, came into Africa and disrupted that thing. But our music that we have right now were established by our foreparents, our ancestors, to give us something that we could use, that could be used as a connect that holds our culture together. And where it, at a later date, they knew at a later date, some of us would find out, do the research, or even travel there, only to identify that we didn't lose. We didn't lose as much as we thought that we did. So this music, string band and big drum, has to live on. It has to live on because it's one of the cultural guideposts that our foreparents and our ancestors established for us to hold on to. As a matter of fact, we have to not only teach it in the schools and in the community centers, but we have to do other things like make CDs and videos and so on, because we have a lot of the dances too. I personally would like one of these days to take a string band or a masquerade to Africa. I said, Africa is where we need to go, because Africa, at this point, is not just a saying that Africa is rising. Africa is rising technologically and industrially, and the consciousness is changing. And I take a lot of encouragement in the fact that Africa is rising, because Africa has one of the youngest and most vibrant and most educated populations on the entire planet. The average age of Africa and all the countries in Africa, all 55 countries, is 19. All the rest of the world is old. America is old. The average age of America is 60 something. China is the same thing. So Africa is the place. Europe is gone over the hill. Africa is the place. And we have that connection there. Besides our melanated skin, of course, our broados and full lips and nappy hair, I think we have the culture in these small islands that we have no choice but not only to implement in the schools and the community centers, but we have a responsibility to develop that music and go back to Africa to identify with what our foreparents wanted. It's a form of liberation too. All right? Does that answer the question?
Yes,
I know it was kind of long-winded, but
I'm seeing a question here, but I am not certain that the person may have their music correct.
don't
But
worry, ask me
I,
still.
yeah, I'll ask it, but I think that song was done by Tampi. But anyway, let's go. He was saying he wondered if Santoy played with the Grand Dash when they released that song with the lyrics, "One new day dawn, when Rastaman shall rise, taking Babylon its people all by surprise."
I'm not familiar with that. But Swan they sang a song about Babylon have a whole sort of razor. I forget the way the song is, but I was there with the Grandis only for one year, and we record not only the Arrow album, but Grandis too had 2 45s two singles. One was by Val Juke and the other one by Sowande. But I don't recognize those lyrics, and I don't recognize that at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that might have been
I
after
think
I left.
from my recollection of those lyrics, I think those lyrics are from Tampi from Over Barrett, who sang with one of those probably, maybe Soul Survivors, one of those bands from Nevis.
Oh,
Um,
yes, I know
he
Tampi.
wasn't.
Tampi is one of my students.
Okay, well, maybe somebody can later on call in or type in, as the conversation is going through and correct us. But I want to think that from my musical recollection, that it is Tampi those are Tampi's lyrics from that song. One new day dawn, Rasta man shall rise, taking
No, I'm
Babylon
not
and his
familiar with that.
people all by
That might have been
surprise.
Tampi.
I think that's what is coming to my mind. Maybe so we stand for that. But anyway, we continue the reasoning. It was just
I
a part of the.
that I'm not familiar with that song, so that's not. I was not there with that around that.
Okay, the person is saying that song was by Grandash, Arrow Arise, and Mick Stokes, Lion Mega Calling, some of my favorites. Okay, I stand to be corrected if it is Grandash, but that as I said, that's what my memory is hitting me, and so we have listeners all over the world. And I guess they will be able to
Right.
correct us. The number to call in if you want to call in. Eventually, we're almost at that point here, so we're gonna be taking a break at the top of the hour to get into. Okay. All right. So before we do that, the person is responding and they're saying, Yahsonn, you are correct. And that song by Zwande. Okay. So he was talking about
Swande, yeah.
the other one, Zwande, right? So he said that's the one that he had in mind. But I guess the lyrics that
Okay.
he was quoting, Tampi. So I guess, okay. So my memory was not so bad either. But yeah, because I think I remember it as well because I loved the song. Because I love reggae music and in listening music, I remember my days working at Van Radio. When it's time to play cultural music and so on. I guess because I love reggae music, a lot of those songs I used to find and fit in the schedule. So like Rasa Buddha would have
That's right.
had
I like that.
songs and so on, right? I used to fit them in because I love reggae music and they were Nevis music and they were cultural music to some extent. And so I remember that song
Yeah.
very well because I love interjecting that into the discussion. But yes, wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience, and as you mentioned, you were giving me the story as sorry, not the story, but the response as to why you see the need to push indigenous music and why we should embrace it more and push it forward. Okay, that's the indigenous music side of things. You also, as you mentioned, was a trombone, so how you have that love as well for the brass.
Brass.
And
Yes.
I know in a lot of prior conversations to hear, you would have expressed your disappointment, so to speak, in the fact that we don't have a proper brass section in terms of our music here on Nevis, and
We don't have it.
your willingness to not just talk about the problem, but to be a part of the
Change it.
solution. So you're back here now
Right.
to
That-
seek to do just that. So I want to give you the opportunity to express, your thoughts and your views, be frank and candid. I mean, we would understand, and I guess also people who are into music as well, we might not be as deep into it, but we want you to express yourself because you're a professional and you know what is anticipated and you're seeking to solve the problem. So you have the floor.
I appreciate that, Yahsonn, because brass is where I started how I started my professional journey in music as a trombonist, and I always aspired to writing and arranging, but I like the sound of the trombone and I like the sound of brass music. So I started off with Grandash to Express, and I'm here now because I realized for so long time, a very long time, Nevis has been importing brass players. Even when I conducted the band for eight years, it was not 8 consecutive years, but 8 out of the 12 and a half years. We had to import brass players because Nevis has no brass players. There were instruments that were bought, but they couldn't find a place. They couldn't find a place to accommodate the program, which I had questions about that. But anyway, that's the past. I'm here now. I have all the formal knowledge and all the experience, the practical knowledge and experience to produce young brass players. And I place a lot of emphasis on young because I'm talking about young people at the end of elementary school and the beginning of high school. I already cut out exactly where I would like to teach. I mean, if I'm operating under the education department system, I may have to go along with their curriculum, but I'm sure younger people have broader minds and more open minds, and they have a little more respect for, professional people in their respective professions. So I would want to train some young people, and the emphasis would be placed on those students that are getting ready to go to high school. As I was in all the primary schools in Nevis, I know exactly who the students should be in it. And I would say grade 5 and grade 6, which are the two schools that are prepping for high school. And then in the high schools, it should be Forms 1 and Form 2. Nobody else. Grades 5 and 6 in the elementary school, and Forms 1 and 2. That is how you will change all that lack of brass players, and at the same time revive the indigenous music. So I teach trumpets, trombone, tenor sax, alto sax, which is most of the times that's what you need to accompany soca music. That's what make up the horn section. Trumpets, alto saxes, trombones, and tenor saxes. I'm ready to teach. I've been here for 2 months now. I realize the time flies. I've been home for 2 months. I've been interacting with the Department of Culture and the Education Department. I spoke with the Premier, and I spoke with the Minister of Culture. Mr. Brantley is very, not necessarily excited, but he's very positive about it. Good, positive feedback. And they're glad that I'm home. They welcome me, in a very positive manner. And so did Mr. Eric Evelyn, who is the Minister of Culture. Also, I've also shown a lot of, especially Mr. Evelyn, a lot of he grasps the vision. He grasps it quick, and then I think he's more enthusiastic about it than both the Premier as well as the Minister of Education. The Minister of Education, I want to express my concern because he hasn't been very cooperative. But I understand. The last time I spoke to him was in the Christmas, and he told me he was under the weather. We all know what that means. He was sick, so I prayed for him, and I haven't heard from him since that. So, until recently, he required something else from me in the form of a different kind of a proposal. But I thought he was sick. I take his word at face value. I think he's a man of integrity. And if he tell me he was sick, I believe him. I called him a lot of times and he didn't return my call. So there's something wrong. He must be still sick. Well, so wherever you are, Mr. Minister of Education, we wish you well and wish you speedy recovery and optimal health. All right. So I'm here now, and I expect to be given that opportunity to teach our youth, because there's nobody else in the Federation who's as qualified as me to teach them. When I say nobody, I mean nobody. It's only one man in the Federation that has as much formal education, and he doesn't have not even a tenth of my practical experience, and that's Gary Knight, my good friend, who teaches at the college in Singapore, CFBC. So I am ready, I'm inspired, I'm prepared. I've also already prepared certain syllabus. I've created the curriculum for the school that I want, if they give me the opportunity to teach them. And I can't think of any reason why I wouldn't be given that opportunity. Because as I said, the Premier Mr. Barrett was very positive about it, and so was Mr. Evelyn, the Minister of Culture. So I haven't even met with Mr. Leiber yet, who is the Minister of Education, but I will. And we expect good. I'm still relatively young, even though I'm almost 70. I'm 68 years old, and I'm full of youth, full of energy, I've chosen to come to Nevis, because I started a work and it's incomplete. I need to finish that work. We should not be importing no brass players, year after year after there is a man on the island who's capable of creating those musicians. And I have a standard. I have my own standard. My standard is one of the world-class standard, because you can't get on the Mighty Sparrows team unless you're really at the top of your game. And Arrow was worse than Sparrow. Sparrow was more lenient. Sparrow would give the person a chance, and if you know what you're doing, you give a chance to fit in. He wants to get rid of you. So I'm coming from the cream of the crop, and I'm here in Nevis. I'm here to stay, and my eyes are on the youth, and my intent is to create young, literate, professional musicians, and it ain't gonna take forever. I have my methodologies and my way of teaching that will create them in quick time, and that person equally true for the indigenous music, both string band and the big drum music, which I feel we have to revive it. Because when I look at it now, when I left 12 years ago, there was at least 3 masquerades in Nevis. Now there's only one masquerade group.
Okay, Santoy.
That's a bad indication. Yes.
Santoy,
Yes.
Before we get on to the big drum part of it, right? We're gonna take a commercial break. We're at the top of the hour, so we're gonna take a break. But what I want you to do for us, right? To take us out of this break, I want you to give us a little piece of the trombone. Give us a little piece of
man.
Yes, man. And that
The
we
brass.
segue out of that. Yes, into
Yes. As a matter into the other thing. Now I have a mute here, which could muffle the sound a little bit, or I could play it without the mute. Can you hear it?
Yes.
I don't want it to be too loud. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a jazz piece, a small, short.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
This is one by one of. This is Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker is one of the jazz giants, and this one is called "My Little Suede Shoes," and he goes something like this. That's My Little Suede Shoes by Charlie Parker.
I'm telling you. So people, the man is not just talking about it, the man is demonstrating his ability. And I'm sure when you listen to that, you feel like you're somewhere down in New Orleans or some one of those places, you know what I mean? Back in the Harlem days and so on, Anyway, technician, take us out the commercial break and we come back with the second half of the program.
All right.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
summer heat, come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to waste. Let's go, people.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
Yeah, yeah. So we want to continue to encourage folks out there. We want to continue to encourage folks out there to donate as much as possible to the worthy cause of helping June with brain surgery and cancer treatment. It can be you, it can be one of us next. Every little mickle or muckle counts, and so we want to encourage you to support in whatever way you can. Help, donate, raise funds. The information is there on the go in terms of the GoFundMe, so you can continue to contribute to the recovery for June as she prepares for her brain surgery and cancer treatment. And we are back. We are back with the second segment of the show for this evening. And before we get into the last segment, there are two things I wanna put on the table. One, at some point, we are going to interject and add a little bit about a specific issue that is challenging and plaguing our society at the moment in terms of, you know,
Let we deal with that
is
first, Yahsonn, get it out the way. Let we deal with it, get it out the way, and then we just go back into it, carrying on still on it.
okay, all right. So well, I guess we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that. And so what we'll do right now, we'll touch on some of the issues that's taking place in relation to cannabis and how people like Anivis are treated versus the way people and Sinkits are treated, and the issues that we are being faced with Anivis as we are seeking to do and do certain things. So, for example, there's a cannabis cup that is supposed to be taking place in the not too distant future, and at this point, we still don't even know how Nivisions will perform when we are continued to being harassed and all that. So we're going to get into a little bit of that in this segment, and then we're going to get back into Santoy, and you're free to make your contribution, Santoy, if you so desire, in terms of the information and so on. So it's not necessarily excluded, but you're free to, if you want, you know. But so Bankie, yeah, talk to us.
Well, you know, coming up at the end of this month, the 26th and the 27th is the Agricultural Expo at the E.T. Willett Park, where it's 30 years of Agriculture Expo from started up in the Prospect area, now it moved into the Villa, and it reached to a point now it reached into the park. 2 years ago, you know, more than 2 years ago, I had a booth, a 20 by 20 booth, where I had a cannabis display, an educational display, because, you know, the government is moving to the world medicinal cannabis, where they have, with the Sankofa case, had challenged the government for privacy and spiritual use and stuff like that. So that case where Judge Ventus had to let the government know they have to go back and amend some bills, and the Constitution give every citizen the right to use cannabis as the sacrament and the right to privacy and stuff like that. Since I had that display at the event 2 years ago, it was the most talked about booth, the premier, police force, everybody was just something what was first time happened, and then there was a kind of bliss where the government itself went into having at the Marriott a whole weekend of activities over there, bringing people from all over the region and stuff like that, where I was invited to have a display and so forth to accommodate, to make the government and look good and stuff like that. So I did reach out and do my part to represent the island, and along with also Nobi and Griot, just both of us. Then even for the Open of the Cannabis Authority, you see, I was called upon because I wanted to flood the whole street and stuff like that. So that was but that was something I didn't even had a chance, because they were my farm, so I didn't take. And then I was the one who also traveled as the technician to Louisiana for cannabis. So I'm just saying, I've just been involved as an educational person. This year is no different. We already registered and paid. For the 2 days, it's $800. And the plan is just to go and do an educational setup, a small setup, but at least in this time, have some bigger trees where you can see how much kind of there's something about 2 ounces of weed you're allowed to, and 5 trees or 6 trees, and back and forth at the same time. But I just want to prove the point where 1 tree can still give you a pound of weed. So when the police them go in someone's house where they have the way to have these trees and so forth, and a man have 16 to 40, 60 ounces of weed, he can accommodate it from 6 trees, or even 5 trees or 2 trees. This is just the reality. So those who are in charge, but no, so I'm preparing already ready for the agriculture fair. So at this present point, from since this week, I started advertising 1 tree for a raffle, but this seemed to be causing some havoc within the police force and putting pressure upon the director of agriculture, then going down to the CEO of the Cannabis Authority, where even the Attorney General them getting involved in all these things over a raffle ticket. I already set seed, you see what I mean, which is a cannabis display, and just raffling a 6-foot cannabis tree for $10. It seemed like everybody getting head wired and can't sleep and going crazy. So this don't make no sense, because I know I'm also taking part. We had the CEO, Mr. Mills here, very nice young gentleman who have the vision of taking the Cannabis Authority forward, and he spoke about a Cannabis Cup coming up. I already set my seed to take part in the Cannabis Cup, and to register in the Cannabis Cup is $100. So I'm trying to make the comparison how the government moving to have a Cannabis Cup. I supposed to be one of the grower who will register to take part as a outdoor sun-grown person, to send in some herb, couple ounces. Yahsonn, you might be one, and those who listen to my voice and say. So if I decide not to take part in this Cannabis Cup, who they consider to be a very good grower, and other people tend to follow me and say, well, if they might fight me to have plants up and making a big thing about this, and the government doing the same thing, well, they might not even have a Cannabis Cup from people from Nevis or in St. Kitts, because I know the top grows in St. Kitts, I know the top grows in Nevis. So the government really have to fall back and realize what they're really doing, where people in Nevis going to be the same guys who are charging $18,000 for a couple of trees. Is the same young man those still want to take part in the same Cannabis Cup, where he have to, so these things really don't make no sense. So if you want a government going to have a Cannabis Cup, and I just go and I not even gone into the park yet You understand, to have the display, and they having a frenzy and seeing in the future that when they were in the park, I'm going to say, I'm in the park yet, but I don't say me sell trees already. Well, how this is it? I'm in the park yet, even the 26th and the 27th, and I'm in the park yet, but I don't put in things in place suggesting what I'm doing. I mean, but the authority, I'm the same person who have to register who you want to take part in the cannabis cup to make the same cannabis and the federal government to look good. So you're fighting the same growers, but you want the same growers to enter a cannabis cup and I only have a display. I'm within my rights to have 5 trees in public to display. If I have other adults with me, it's 5, so I can have up to 50 trees. If I have 10 people within me, in my, each of them deserve 5 trees. So they really got to understand this system within. So the Department of Agriculture Navies need to research and be telling for years and read upon this Sankofa case and the rights of the director constitutionally, because the director can direct the police. This is what we're doing. So how do I already paid into the government to have an event, to take part in an event for 2 days, $800. And then all of a sudden, because of raffle there's a frenzy, this doesn't make no sense. And they still want to enter a cannabis cup. So imagine they can't have the cannabis cup then. Because how the growers in Nevis is going to grow and them in St. Kitts is not getting harassed. But in Nevis, there's a situation with the same, and there's the same commissioner of police and stuff like that is in charge, where you're going to tell, say one thing where the police in Nevis have no work to do. I'm a farmer also. If I leave my farm, monkey will eat up my stuff. The police can go and shoot monkeys. But I'm just saying this this is what's going on right now. I know people are calling me, looking forward for me being in the park, because it's something that is bring a different touch when it comes to the Agriculture Expo, a cannabis display, and it brings a lot of conversation. And there are a lot of young people involved with the art farm when it comes to growing this plant. We take a lot of time and the creativity. And this is one podcast that been pushing it for years, where you want it to be a niche market. I'm one of the persons out there educating and showcasing the plants. We've never seen a plant. And if I choose to raffle a plant, it should not be an issue, because the government still want to take part in a cannabis cup where I have to register for $100. So what I do, selling plants? I'm trying to understand this. I have to go to the plant to register the. So I understand that. So which is it? I'm charging $10 for a raffle ticket to get a chance to win. I not sell nothing, But you have to register $100 to be part of a cannabis competition where everybody have to return and bring in a couple of ounces of weed. So which is it? Don't make no sense. So I'm just putting it out there, and then we'll go back to the regular conversation with Mr. Santoy Barrett. As a conscious man, as a man of music and spirituality, I just interact as an elder and know him. He don't have to comment in any part but I'm just putting that part. Just so those who know this is what's going on in present time, right time, real time, where a Attorney General can't sleep, pressure upon the Director of Agriculture, pressure upon the CEO in the Cannabis Authority over a raffle ticket, and they still want me, the same plant technician, to take part in a cannabis cup. Which is it? So if I boycott the cannabis cup and the US growers in Nevis follow me to boycott it, and them in St. Kitts, the growers them who would expect to boycott it, there would not be a cannabis cup. And they got to understand that, because everyone who into cannabis, most of them would reach out to me. I would know them somehow or the other. So I can influence, but that is not my thing. It's to each his own. You understand?
But Bankie, part of my problem is, as I see the problem, and this is one of the reasons why when we had the premiere on the program the other night, I had to ask these questions, because the problem that we are seeing here on St. Kitts and Nevis is that there is the law that has been evoked. There is a constitution. There was a case that sets the precedents. Sankofa Maccabeus took the government to court in terms of personal and recreational use. He was successful based on constitutional rights. Constitutional rights. And we must note that. And I'm going to share a little bit of information based on some research that I have. It says, the St. Kitts and Nevis Constitution guarantees all adults freedom of conscience, religious section 3, and privacy of person, section 2, treating these as inalienable rights, not to subject to parliamentary override. The 2019 ruling declared no amount of limit for private or religious use by Rastafarians and allowed private personal use by any adult striking down from blanket prohibition as unconstitutional without adequate public health justification. Now, government development post that ruling, the government decriminalized small amounts of up to 56 grams for personal possession and 5 plants via the cannabis bill, replacing some of the penalties with fines while prohibiting public use. In 2023, the Freedom of Conscience Cannabis Act and Rastafari Rights Recognition Act formalized Rastafari exemptions, including free licenses and tax breaks for religious cultivation. By April 2025, the Medicinal Cannabis Authority launched for regulated medicinal industry growth, focusing on licensing, economic opportunities, and public health safeguards. The key difference is the Constitution mandates unrestricted private adult use as a right, with no quantity caps for religious practice and broad personal privacy protections. Government laws impose regulations like possession limits, licensing requirements, public bans, and a medical commercial framework to balance health, safety, and international obligations, potentially seen as privileges. You see where they take away rights and want to give us privileges? Privileges needed approval rather than absolute rights. This regulatory approach fulfills the court's 90-day remedy order, but adds layers and ruling deemed unnecessary for core constitutional protections. So here is it. You have the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis giving you certain rights. You have a case that sets the precedence, and then you have.
Yahsonn, we're going to switch back over now to Mr. Barrett. We just wanted to just touch that and at least put it out there and continue.
I just wanted to put it into perspective so that when people hear the debate and the discussion and the rationale for us having that pushback, they could have those things into perspective and realize that we are not just getting up and talking, and we're not just trying to be rebellious, but actually that there are things that are constitutional and that they are our rights, and they're seemingly being trampled upon based on people with their personal feelings when there's laws in place for that. So anyway, that's basically what I wanted to put on the floor. Mr. Barrett, as we get back to you, there was some requests for something that is more familiar, another song maybe you could bring back something from the Grand Dash or something that is more familiar. They wanted to hear something because a lot of people are not necessarily familiar with the jazz. But if you want to give us something more local, well, I don't know if you want to use another instrument. It's up to you. The choice is yours.
If you want to do since you're
going to talk about it, so you can do that then. Yes, do that.
Yes, there's a lot of emphasis. Thank you, brother. There's a lot of emphasis placed on indigenous music, and I want to put more emphasis on the revival and the breathing of new, fresh air and new life into our indigenous music. So as a result of that, I would play one of the lead instruments in both the big drum music, which is the accompanying music for masquerades, as well as the lead instrument for the string band, and that's called the fife. The fife is, for those of you who don't know what a fife is a wind instrument. It's the family of the flute. It's not a flute, it's a fife, and it's very suited to the string band music. I'm going to play something that I believe that most of us would be familiar with. It's a folk song, and it's pretty old, and it's very international. I think it originated somewhere in the Caribbean. I don't know, maybe Jamaica, maybe right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Yellow Bird. Most of us would have heard that. Okay, this is how it sounds. string band style.
Yes,
You recognize that one?
yeah, man. I'm sure definitely folks will be able to communicate. I mean, relate with that as well because that's one of the popular hits
Yes.
that's played by a lot of the string bands and so on, and masquerades and so on as well. So yes, definitely, I'm
But not only
familiar with
that,
that one.
there was a man by the name of Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte is proposed to sing, so I don't think he was singing calypso, but he called it calypso. He wrote a lot of songs for him, but that was one of the songs that he put on his first album, Yellow Bird. Another one is this one, which I like very much. Is it okay if I play another one?
Yes, sure.
Everybody would know this one. Harry Belafonte made that very big all over the world. Harry Belafonte was a man who was involved with the civil rights movement. Dr. Martin, he was very close to Dr. Martin Luther King. And he was a Hollywood star, movie, an actor, professional actor. Anyway, he made this one big. Maybe some of you in the audience, locally, regionally, or internationally, could text and tell me what song it is. And that applies to both you and Bankie as well as Yahsonn. See if you could identify it.
All right.
All right. Did you recognize it?
No, I recognize it. Bankie, you recognize it, Bankie?
It's so familiar, but I just can't bring it. But I want him to play some big drum, starting the leading five. That's what we want to hear. That you can recognize that. So before you go,
okay,
start off that.
That was Mama Luka Bugure.
You see me now under the name.
Okay, the big drum music now.
Yeah, man. That's the whole point.
I watched the
players.
Yeah. Big drum music with a five without the big drum. I don't know how many persons could
when you just start the intro, once you start up the five, you don't know you know how come behind it. You want the kettle drum behind it.
Okay, listen to this one. This one I'm gonna play is called, this is the music for the quadrille. The quadrille is a slower dance, the masquerade. It's very traditional. But I watched a whole program on, I don't remember which was the television station, way back in the late 80s. And I discovered there was an African woman dancing to the beat of the quadrille. And I identified it. I said, oh, well, wait a minute. That is the music that the masquerade dance. That's slow. And it talked about that music was the music that accompanied the dance of fertility, of rejuvenation, of new life in people and in the land. And it was a long dance, and this is the music that they were going through. So that's why I mentioned that our foreparents, our ancestors knew what they were doing when they set up these music. I'm sure placed thousands of hours into developing these and solidifying these different forms of cultural art forms. Now listen to this one. Everybody who knows masquerade music should know what this really is. This is the song.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
part where the
Recognize
dancing is
that?
slow. That's the part where the dancing slow. They like rocking slow and doing the up and down and kind of vibe.
Yes.
That's the slow part. Yes. Then the
That's the
bugging down,
quadrille.
coming up
That's the
and
quadrille.
okay. It's the slow dance part where they come in and
And
something go around with each other and stuff like that. In the middle,
that's
come down
right.
the line and stuff like that. Yes.
And
That's
that
my favorite
is
part
a
in the
lot of
masquerade.
we have lost the meaning of most of these dances, but the meanings are still there. That particular dance is about the rejuvenation of the land, the rejuvenation of fertility in the women and the men, and also the land. The Nevis has get a lot of rain. I want to interject this right now. Nevis get a lot of rain. It's so great to be home on a beautiful little island, natural beauty, fresh air, real fresh air. You see, and everywhere you go,
Nice.
you could see 100 different shades of green, beauty. Now, I have questioned myself over the years as to whether I was being biased because I was born in Nevis. It took me years to question myself, and I realized, no, I'm not being biased. Nevis is one of the prettiest little islands on the entire planet. How do I know? What authority do I have to make such a statement? I've been there and I've done that. I know what I'm saying. So you get so much rain, and one of the reasons that I believe that Nevis gets so much rain is it's a small island, 36 square miles, with a big mountain in the middle. That's Mount Nevis. And I do believe that Nevis needs to do a lot more agricultural work. We got to get into more agriculture. They have to, I'm talking about agriculture as everything, including cannabis, because we have to look to the more developed countries, the more advanced countries. For, as an example, in the United States, almost all the states now have relaxed on cannabis. Need to be dry. So much different benefits, medicinal. You use it as food. They spoil us and gave us the wrong information. They use it as food, for the seasoning, use it for spiritual purposes, and for medicine. And I've watched so many different programs where different people praise up the cannabis and the medicinal properties that it has in it for helping their child, helping their children, and a lot of different sicknesses, epilepsy, cure for epilepsy, different forms of cancer. We have to look at the benefits. We have to focus on the benefits rather than the laws around restricting. And of course, you need laws, but we need to focus more on the benefits of cannabis and agriculture. We have to grow more foods in Nevis. Most of the land is still there. And Nevis, I spoke to two geologists just before I left in 2013 for the United States. And there were two white people, a man and a woman. And we were talking very casually right below TDC, Horsford's, right where that bakery was. They were coming out the bakery and I was going and we ended up talking. And they said they're from Sweden or someplace in Europe, and they were here vacationing and they were doing some experiment. And they said that Nevis has some of the best soil on the entire planet. I had to ask them again if they're sure what they were talking about. So I just wanted them to tell me again. And they say, yes, based on our research, Nevis has some of the best soil on the entire planet. So, the point now, by the way, I want to give Mark Brandt the premiere. I'm breaking up again?
You're back now.
Okay, I just want to say, to add to what I'm saying, I want to give a lot of credit to the Premier Brantley, because since I was on the United States, I would see him come on the was that Facebook or one of those other platforms, and he would say, and he's encouraging Nevisians to grow something. Everybody grow something in your backyard, grow something on your land. And that is right. With the amount of foolishness that's going on with the food and food security, we have to take this very serious and grow our food. So, I want to play this one for all the farmers in Nevis and St. Kitts, and at the same time, give kudos to Mr. Mark Brantley for really much emphasis on going forward. This one everybody should know. It's called Fuck Up the Land by the mighty Franco out of Antigua. And by the way, it's become a string band staple over the last 25, 30 years, however long that song has existed. Hear this. Walk up the land. So that's where all the farmers. You're familiar with that one?
Yeah, man, definitely familiar with that one. Yes, definitely. That's been around for a very long time.
The next time I will have the full band, because for me, as a top professional musician, the band, I get the most having the band, the accompaniment, the banjo, the tenor ukulele, the mandolin, the baritone ukulele, the guitars, and the percussive section, which is the gyro. By the way, for you, those of you who don't know what the gyro is what we locally call the grater. That's scratch pan. That's like the heartbeat of the singer music. Then you have the triangle, and then the bajo. Bajo is like a bass pipe. That's the bass of the band. Now that's beautiful, beautiful music. And you know, I really it would hurt me. I would not die happy if I didn't get a chance to revive or see this music revive, because I know I have the power, I have the technical knowledge, the theoretical, the practical knowledge, the years of experience, and I really would love to see this music make a comeback. Now, by the way, while I'm on it, I might as well say what the main goal really is. The goal is to have a string band festival in St. Kitts and Nevis. I personally don't think that St. Kitts and Nevis, with only 60 or something thousand now, under 60,000 people, we don't do enough. We don't do enough to accommodate the philosophy of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is that African philosophy which says, I am because we are. That Ubuntu is like that invisible glue that binds us together as a people. We need to see more of that. And I believe that a string band festival will do very well to accommodating something like that and elevating our togetherness, our oneness as a people of African descent or Africans living in these parts.
Right. Question to you, Mr. Barrett. Earlier I spoke about the hillbilly music. They're having the same bajo and a lot of the same instrument. Where they get that from? You research music and this everything. Yes.
Yes, that's a very, very good question. You know what? It all came out of West Africa. It came out of Africa, but particularly West Africa, since that's where most of our people came from. And when I say most of our people, there were people a minimum of 10,000 years before the coming of any white person. So we all have to be, aware of that. But the majority of us, I believe, came during the Atlantic slave trade. And we brought our music with us. We brought our cooking habits. We didn't lose as much as we think that we lost. We lost the language and the religion and some of the clothing and, the way of it. But we maintained a lot of it, a lot of the talk, like Nivision talk. Nivision talk combines with his African, remnants of African language and combined with the English, you see? And so we have this culture. We want to keep it. We want to, nothing happens by magic. There's no magic. We have to put concerted effort theoretically,
But
practically, culturally.
you understand. You
Yes,
understand the question I asked, right? You understand the question when especially in Georgia and in the South, the white folks, the what we call the hillbilly
oh yes,
music,
yes,
they have the same that type of music I'm talking about because that same that
yes,
every
yes,
time growing up watching the hillbillies and all them different house and the POE, that always remind me of string band
yes.
music. So it blow my mind to see well how these people have our music and we don't realize it that the same pipe that they blow, everything is just the same thing. The dance is the
Ban-
same thing. It blow my
Banky,
mind.
your point is well taken, and that is what I was saying, that we know, and the whole world know, that Europeans stole everything from Africa, everything they have. Everything. Mutabaru could tell you that. People like John Henry Clark, who's one of my main teachers.
Yes,
John Henry Clark is a world-renowned
yes,
historian. You got
yes,
people like Amos Wilson, another
of course.
African-centered psychologist and historian. He said the same thing. Everything that we have was stolen. Sheikh Anta Diop, Naim Akbar, all of those are great African teachers that said the same thing. With the music, they stole it. They stole it, all right. I'm not vexing them on this. They stole it. You talk about music like bluegrass music, Zydeco, and all those music is very similar, not identical, but very similar. It's our people that carry that music there and get it developed, and then they took over it, the white folks. Just like with, for instance, I'll draw an example. Elvis Presley. Everybody know who Elvis Presley was. Elvis Presley music is not white music. Elvis Presley's music is blues and gospel music that he learned. He grew up in the black church. He learned that. I wouldn't say Elvis stole it. No, I would say that the promoters of the music stole it. Elvis just borrowed it. He borrowed it or he plagiarized. So all the music that you see in the white America, the classical music came out of Africa, the jazz came out of Africa, the bluegrass, the Zydeco, the blues, R&B, all of it came out of Africa. But we, as Africans, we have a significant degree of genetic memory. For example, in the Caribbean, I mean, I'm bouncing from one thing, but it's all the same point I'm trying to make. The big drum music, no, but that was not learned. That's not something that we learn as a result of being enslaved by other people. Those music came with us, it came in our head, and it was, it's there through genetic memory and traditional practices. So those music that you've observed, Bankie, in the southern part of the United States and other parts, those are just music that were borrowed from our people, and it's very, very similar. Now, one of the things that
Yes,
happened during the early 1800s, and even before the early 17th and 1800s, is that there was a transfer of people out of the United States, African people, into the Caribbean. You see, we didn't all come directly from Africa. A lot of Africans who lived on the continent for a minimum, all the research have proved that they are African. Black people, broad north, full lip, nappy here, lived on the continent for a minimum of 10,000 years. Now that to me is an understatement, because I have other sources that say that the African people living on the north, or in the Americas, I should say, was there long before 10,000 years. You see, some dated, some independent special interest group dated to as much as 53,600 years. You see, Africa ain't no new place. Africa is an old place. The Africans have been all over the planet for a very long time. But anyway, the music is not. I'm not surprised that you observe that, because I myself have seen that, and I believe that we have, in the form of string band and big drum, one of the most authentic forms of what we had prior to the coming of so-called white people. Yes,
So
sir.
I want to shift gears a little bit, not shift gears, because we're on the same indigenous music, but something
Mhm.
that was just brought my attention, and I want to be able to figure out how much you know about it. There has been this art form that I think has died out, and when we speak of died out, one of the persons who was a boss, as they would say, in the field would have been my uncle who would have just passed away recently. That's Shine Clifford Daniel.
Mm.
The giant this year.
I've heard his name.
I really have,
Yes, yes.
are you familiar with it in any way? Because I grew up seeing them performing it, and I remember this man they used to call Greybeard. People used to be afraid of
Mm-hmm.
Greybeard. I mean, I see literally, I see literally men run up in a lime tree, a sour orange tree, trying to run away from Greybeard, and then can't get back down because they don't know how they get up there, right? But this was the kind of fear when them guys came around and they were playing and they had this big stick that they used to, and they used to read from the Pilgrim's Progress and they had all of these things to say. But
Mm.
I am not seeing anybody at all seeking to carry out that aspect. So I see some people try to still do the cakewalk. I see people still do the big drum and the
Mm.
masquerade and so on. But what they call it giant display. I'm not seeing
You know,
that and much of that anymore. I was wondering if you know anything much
I've
about it and if you could have shared a little bit on it as well.
I as a youth growing up from the first 13 years in Nevis, I saw them perform that on the streets. I was always intrigued, but at the same time, I felt to some degree the same fear that you all felt from the man who was considered the giant with the big stick
Yes.
over his shoulder. And I tell you, I used to feel that fear. And I sometimes wonder, why was I? Well, he was an awesome figure, and he was very serious. He was not a man that, or the figure, the personality didn't smile with anybody. But I never saw it as an important thing for me to invest any of my time. I really don't know what it was all about. I once heard
Okay.
Harold, who was a top musician here in Nevis and an educator, talk about it. He said he had an idea, he had a good idea of how the story goes. And for some reason, I never have felt any interest in learning about that story. When he died, he was part of
Okay.
our dramatic art forms.
But what I realize about
So
the
I don't know
giant of
much about that.
Spain is that,
Mhm.
especially growing up, that and the next one, the
Wait a
Johnny
minute,
Walker.
it's not giant. Bankie is not giant
Huh?
is giant despair. It is really
Well,
about,
giant despair. I
that
guess how we
David.
speak dialect, giant despair. Yes, but the
Yeah,
costume is almost similar. They're similar to the masquerade. The music and the drumming that became and the flute that be off. The fife is different kind of music,
It's
and they
different.
talk a
Yes,
lot. Like
yes.
yeah, they speak a lot and hit and stuff. So it's a kind of art form current and yes, but Shine. You're gonna big up Shine. Cause every culture, man, he stays dressing in that in that art form, even if he's just here alone and stuff like that and acting out by himself. But it's something that
Is he
is
still
really have
alive?
been left. No, he just passed on. So I just want to send out my condolences to
Oh,
his family, his
yeah,
children,
me
and
too.
stuff like that.
My
And
sympathy.
his nephew Yahsonn and the rest of the extended family. But he was a very good very good close friend of the whole division community and always will engage you and
Hmm.
relate
I
with
heard
you.
about
And
him.
someone who speak his mind, you can't hush him up. So if I want, so
Hmm.
he is someone who I think should be
I,
honored in the art farm, and his picture should
I
and
haven't met him,
some
but I
place
heard
in the
about him.
mountain should be named after him. We need to start name streets and put monuments of. Cause he been always dedicated to that giant of giant display as you correctly call it. Yes, but just wanted.
Yes,
So
well,
the five part you never learn the five part of that part, but I'm not really learning because you can play it
no,
if it's there.
if I hear it, but the story
Yes.
has never interested me. If I heard somebody, uh, you know, relate, then I would listen. But for some
Ca-
reason, I've never invested any energy into
But what about the
into learning
clown?
the whole story about it. Well, the clown,
What
I've
about the
studied
clown?
the
The clown
the
is
musical end
different.
of
Yes, the clown is different. Yes.
the clown. I've studied the music of the clown. As a matter of fact, I had a friend of mine from about 2 years ago. I had a friend of mine from ZIZ who works at ZIZ, Jazzy D, send me um, several copies of the music that accompanied the clown. I think it was a very beautiful music, and we seem to have allowed it to die out. But I understand it very clearly, and I understand the whole concept of it. And I know they must have put a lot of hours, a lot of hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours into developing that music. But it's there, it's not dead, and there's somebody who could teach it, hopefully in the schools or in our community, and revive that music, because it's great music. Why did we allow it to die or to become so dormant? I don't know why. I guess it would be the same reason as to why we only have one string band in Nevis. When I've gone all over the world, I've heard many people say this little island of Nevis is renowned for its string band music. And St. Kitts, of course, was renowned for the clown band music. That's what we call it. The other kind of string band music we used to call the clown band. But it's not really a clown band. It's the band that accompanied the performer, the clown performers. They use,
And
the instrumentation is a
they
little
also
different.
had,
They use a drum.
and
What was
there's
that?
something else on St. Kitts that we don't. There's something else on St. Kitts that we don't do much over here, which is the bull. That's something that's on St. Kitts that we don't. That might be
Well, it
more
was
kind of. I
originally
don't know.
Nevis, you know. It was,
Really.
yes, Nevis.
I remember
Nevis
the
was
bull
the
growing up
place
in the
that
80s. Yes, I remember
yes,
the bull.
Nevis. That it somehow
Okay.
it got changed to St. Kitts, and that's good. The St. Kitts and Nevis is the same. You know, the bull
Before we
music
continue,
and the
before we
bull
continue,
performance came out of Nevis, really. What was
someone
that?
here who's following. I was saying we got ardent followers here this evening, and someone who is listening was saying that the
Mm,
Giants' Despair was a depiction of how we as Africans saw Europeans. We were enacting out
mm.
how sad the Europeans or Massa were, regardless of all the greatness they claimed. So I guess maybe they're
Mhm.
trying to explain that that's the story behind the Giants' Despair. That, as he said
I wish
again,
I
it
could
was a
find someone
depiction.
who could explain that to me.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. This is something that has died out literally, I mean, because I don't think anybody
Mm.
at all actually performs it at this point. So I don't know if in
No,
your attempt to revive some of the art forms, if I don't know, you say you don't know much about it, but you could probably seek to
I don't.
research it some more and see if you can help to bring back some of that as well too in the
Yes,
process. But I think it would be great,
I would. I would like to. Yes, I certainly would. Yahsonn, I would like to really hear the story, because if you hear the story, and I know the music. I've heard the music. It's very different. It's a different kind of masquerade. There's a drum, and for the giant despair, and the kettle drum is playing something very different to what the masquerade played, and the bull music is still something very different. We have a wealth of or had, well, let's say we still have a wealth of indigenous and cultural art forms here that we are allowing to die out. And I believe it's the lack of awareness of the importance of these art forms, why we are allowing them to die out. You know, we have no choice but to revive those cultures, because if we don't, I believe in the future a generation will come and they will skin up their noses at us and ask, why did you all allow these important parts of our culture to die out? If they ask me as an old man, let's say I live to be 80 or 90 years and they die, and they ask me, I wouldn't know what answer to give to them. What answer would you, Bankie and Yahsonn, give to, let's say, your grandson who asks, why did you all allow this important, rich culture to just go down the drain like that? What answer would you give them? What would be your answer to your grandson if he asks a question like that? Are you hearing me?
Sorry,
I
you put
can't
me on
hear
a
you.
spot because you put me on a spot here because I really don't know what to say. Because the reality is, in
Maybe
some
Bankie
cases,
might.
like for example, in some cases, for example, like look at it, look at the reality. My uncle was so involved in the giant display, but it's not something that I was interested in to say follow up either. But I'm here
Lack of
now, and I guess
awareness.
I
Yeah.
am. Yes, yes, and I guess too we took some of that for granted, and I guess also with
Yeah.
the influence of other music, and music has evolved to some extent. Not that I'm trying to
Mm.
justify us neglecting it, but over time, music has evolved. You go from the cassette to digital, where now music is, to some
Right.
extent, people
Right.
are not even playing real instruments and so on. And so some of that has to do with it. But what I would say is, grandson, take some time, and if you could find somebody who have the art form still, see if you can learn it. And that is what I can say. I didn't take it seriously, but I have you now, and I will do what I can do to help you to try to maintain it if that is your interest. Bankie, I
Right.
don't know, you
Well,
missed out a bit. He was asking
it's okay.
what would he say to
I'm hearing.
his grandson. No, I'm talking to Bankie now because he wasn't there when you were asking the
Oh,
question.
good.
So I was getting
Okay.
to answer. What is it that you would say to your grandson to answer to the fact that you would have allowed this art form to just die out? So he was saying, he wondered to himself what he would say to his grandson if he passed on and he didn't get to do anything. What would you say to our grandchildren? So he was asking that. So I was responding to that. So what would you say to your grandson?
I would like to hear what Bankie got to say to that. What would you say,
Well,
Bankie, to a question like that?
if the art farm is
If the art
being
form
lost,
died,
it's we to blame, my brethren. We have a responsibility because everything that we do is cultural. So we have to, and it tells a story. It's who we are as a person. It's like I grew up in an environment with my uncles, Mansa, Kinsley, watching the fish pot being cut out, watching the net being mended and all this different stuff, watching the soil being tilled, watching the traditional fishing boat. All those is a story. All those are stories. We have to realize this. If we lose these
part of our
things,
culture,
we lose ourselves. We're losing ourselves.
yes.
These are what we're doing. Yeah.
I think sometimes as we're doing, now I'm not hold it out, so don't lose it. I'm just saying though, sometimes you might think that people are not listening and paying attention, but this evening I gotta say enough respect to our listening audience, those who are locked in, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. I want to take some time again. We're almost wrapping up, but I want to take some time out to encourage all of you who are on the platform to go to the YouTube platform, subscribe. At least take 30 seconds. We're not asking you for a donation. We're not asking you for money. We're just asking you to subscribe, click on the notification bell so that you are, informed whenever we are having the next program, and feel free to share so that the rest of the world can hear this. We don't just want you who are listening to feel it and feel the energy and see that we really need to do something about it, but, share it so that the rest of the community can. So I want to take the time out to do that. As I said that though, K-Wana is saying that Matty, I hope Matty or Matey, I hope whichever one the pronunciation is, Matty or Matey, in Butlers can tell the story. So, and I guess they're talking about the giant
Matty.
display. Matty or Matey.
Oh yes, I'm gonna find him.
Okay, all right.
From Butlers, I'm gonna try to find him.
Matey, not Matty, Matey, the contractor guy who got the best patch notes.
Is it M-A-T-E? How you spell?
Matey,
Yeah, we will find him. I'll find him. Matey.
Okay.
Because some of the guys who was part of my string band are from Butlers as well.
Yeah, man. If it's one thing,
I was saying that
the culture is very much alive in Butlers. And even today, I think some of the as you say, members of the string band are from Butlers. Because I know for sure, like people like Zumba.
Zumba was my banjo player.
Okay,
and
so
Puff, guitar player.
And there was Pip too. I think there was a Pip, but I don't know if Pip still, but I know Puff around and Zumba. I mean, a lot of these guys. I know these guys from a small, so one of the biggest.
I've seen them and they want. Yes, they want to play. They want to make music. I feel confident that if I got access to the youth, those approaching high school and those who have just entered high school, I could turn this thing around where the culture will live with, and we would have planted the seeds for a string band festival. And at the same time, we would stop the import of brass players. But I have to have that opportunity. I mean, I could create the opportunity for myself, but as at my age right now, it would be better for me to go into the schools through the education department or the culture department or the NCDF, which is the Nevis Cultural Development Foundation. But I'm here now, and I'm determined to influence and make my presence felt in that respect. I do believe that we could revive this culture without too much effort, without an extreme amount of effort. But we have to do it now, or then it becomes so much harder if we wait. If we waited for a year or 2 years from now, I think the task will become extremely difficult as opposed to right now. As for Mr. Matey, I'm going to search him out, then see if I could have him relate to me the story of the giant despair. Because I think, as you said, I like what you said. I believe that, yes, it's something that we should pass on to our children because it has to do with the drama, psychological, and emotional, mental, spiritual battle against the forces of oppression, on our people, and the ultimate triumph of our people over the forces of oppression, which I believe that's what it was about mostly. But I would need to know the whole story. The culture must live; it must survive.
Santoy,
Yes,
as simple as it is, right? We have gone through, the 2 hours. As simple as it is, you realize that?
Oh yeah,
and I mean,
it happened so fast, man. When the time flies.
I'm telling you. But here's what I'm gonna do, and I want
Time
to tell you
flies.
that you do have some people listening, and you do have some, serious fans. We have Mighty Servant One saying we need to start to chronologize the works and information held by the likes of Santoy, Suti, Pension, and others. So, I mean, that's what they're saying. We need to chronologize these music, put them into some kind of,
Yes,
and document these things so that we can pass on these
document.
information as well. We also have Kewana again saying, big up Santoy, one of my music teachers in high school, and we reconnected since he returned. So that's one of the brothers from
All right.
the Odyssey Bank, Kewana.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
so I mean,
Yes, Mr. Warner. Greetings, brother. Yes,
yeah, man, we have people logging
farmer
in, and the
student.
musicians can give a test to the stories that you're sharing. And Santa, I really wanna thank you again for taking up the invitation to come on the platform. You could be doing anything on a Friday evening, but you have as you say within Rastafari, livicated your time because we ain't dedicated nothing. So we livicated your time
Right.
to this
Right.
platform and to be on the platform with us. And I wanna give you an opportunity to give us your closing remarks and anything that you would want to add. And if you want to share information as to how people can contact you if they want to, be a part of the movement that you're a part of, and if they're interested in learning, whether it's the trombone, the fife, or any of the other music instruments that you want to teach, and or help with putting the efforts into contributions to bringing back the art form. So I'm giving you that opportunity in your wrap up, and then I'll give Bankie an opportunity to wrap up as well.
Yes, I appreciate that, Yahsonn. And first of all, I want to say thank you, both you and Bankie, for having me on your program. I really appreciate it. I think you would do a tremendous amount of good. The objective right now is to, if not start a music school, an institution, go into the schools. I think it's much easier. And at this time, I believe that expeditious effort and attention is necessary if this culture is going to survive. So I believe that is up to the onus is on the education department and the Department of Culture right now to make this happen. But I will stay on them until they give me the chance to teach the youth. I believe that it is absolutely necessary that this culture survive. There's so much emotional, mental, psychological, and spiritual benefits to educating the youth and prolonging this culture of ours, which is our birthright. It was you always, and it still is, even though it's in shambles right now and in need of expeditious revitalization. As for the brass program, that is more than a necessity right now. We can have, as I said, Nevis has some of the most brilliant students I've taught, and I've taught in the United States, I've taught in California, I've taught in New York, I've taught in Chicago, I've taught in St. Kitts, I've taught in Nevis. Nevis and St. Kitts have some of the most brilliant students that I have taught, and I believe we could turn around this thing. I'm talking about we could bring about the revival of our culture, the masquerade and the string band, in a very short space of time, in under 2 years. I would commit myself to a minimum of 5 years of consistent. I mean, I ain't going nowhere. I live here, or hopefully I live to be 100. But I would commit myself to a minimum of 5 years of education in the schools, and I prove within 2 years that this culture could live, and it could be a significant, it could turn into a significant means of revenue for the nation, the Nevis and St. Kitts, but particularly Nevis, if we get that string band festival on the go. But of course, you have to lay the groundwork. And the groundwork in this case is actually preparing youth to take our place. You know, I'm old now. We're ready to go. If I live to be 10 years from now or 20 years from now, we're still all ready to go. So that now, right now, it's necessary for me to pass on this. I have the formal knowledge, I have the practical knowledge, I have the experience. You know, I'm ready to do it, and I am so grateful for you and Yahsonn, and Bankie for having me on this program, because what it does, it gives the people, not just locally but regionally and internationally, a chance to hear, you know, my perception of what's going on concerning our birthright, our culture, our heritage, that which we brought from Africa, and that which is ours. It's rich. We have to maintain it. We have to new life into it. All right. Okay,
Yes,
that's my
thank
say
you.
for tonight.
Thank,
And we're at the end
thank you
of
very
it.
much. Thank you very
You're
much,
you're very
Santoy.
welcome.
And Bankie,
Thank
any closing remarks?
Yes, Yahsonn, what our guests and our viewers have been listening to is the Michael Jordan of music. And
Thank you
this
for
is
the
not something
compliment.
that we should take lightly. Mr. Barrett have fought in the educational system, and to come back and to want to give an extra 5 years, because he don't have to. It's a choice. The love and the importance and seeing the vision and what is needed.
Deliberate
Train as
choice.
much young people as possible from the elementary school to into the high school. Those Saturdays, if we can teach at least a good couple hundreds, he have done his, and that is what he want to continue. And if the Minister of Education,
Exactly.
the Minister of Culture, and the Premier can't see this vision, can remember this guy don't have to, is a choice, and the importance
The choice,
of
a deliberate choice.
continuity he's putting in forward. So I hope the grass as this as ASAP, where this can start from even next week. By next month, this can continue start in the school by after Easter, something like that, before Easter, and get this ball going, because I'm excited to see this program rolled out. I'm not sure if Mr. Belt have any plan and teaching any middle age, anyone who have the interest in learning a piece of material or whatever it is, because music is something
Yes.
you can learn from any age. That's the beautiful thing about it. It doesn't have a limit where you can start at. But I understand his program, but as I said, others might want to get close to you. Whether it's reading music, and you see what I mean, others who into band might want the other touching up. Because they might say, oh, me can play good, but then you are the Michael, you don't pass the Olympics every time he keep you in the Olympics, So when a man say he could play by ears and that he step it up and read the sheets, or you have a lot of things there for you to be teaching and passed on. And I just want to say thank you again. I would never know in how the future hold that I would be interviewing you and growing up as a youth in Codicote, hearing your name over and over and over and stuff like that. So always a pleasure. I ain't serious yet to interact with you. You know what I mean? I hear you're wrong, but it's just timing is everything.
I'm here.
But definitely
Time is
was a
yes.
wealth of information. a wealth of information has been disseminated from you this evening, and the places you have been, who you traveled with, and stuff like that. So Navis is very grateful to have you here and have you wanting to continue passing the knowledge. And I hope this thing that you're putting forward can be started off of ASAP, where a lot of homes on the island can be impacted, and then
That's
can
right.
also transfer some of that information to the youth also in St. Kitts, because we are one people. So however you can collaborate with the
Yes.
federal government inside the schools, you can work it out, whether it's a couple of days in Navis and some in St. Kitts, at least everything accomplished within
Yes,
the
that's
same
part of the
5 year. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was my part, and thank for those who stay with us and listening the conversation and choosing to listen to Real Entertainment Network. Next week, Tuesday, we'll be having our guest, Mr. Ruhan Isles from the NRP in the St. Thomas's area. And then on Friday, and the Everything Agriculture should have Mr. Quincy Bart. We will talk about crop and integrated pest management, a holistic way. Definitely looking forward for that discussion also. As you mentioned earlier, we need to grow more food, but at the same time, grow it in a holistic and a safe way that is safe for us and the environment and passing on, as we're protecting for the future generation and preparing them for playing music, also preparing them for the same time, a healthy environment for them to play and live in at the same time. So thanks again for all those who stick and choose Real Entertainment and the topics. Yahsonn?
Yeah, man. As we close up, I'll just read the last comment. Somebody said that the story of the Pilgrim's Progress has a role in giant despair, but we tailored it to be reminiscent of our own experiences during slavery / colonialism. And I could recall, if it's one thing I could recall from my Uncle Shiny, is him telling me that the Pilgrim's Progress, like some of the things that he would have been uttering, because like Bankie was saying, when they perform, it wasn't just the music, it was the music, and then they would stop and they would make certain utterances and so on. And a lot of it was taken from the Pilgrim's Progress, right? And so, yeah, I give thanks to all who are locked in and all who are participating. And, like I keep telling people, without our audience and without our callers and viewers, we could be here just talking to ourselves. But you guys make us know that we are not talking to ourselves, and what we're talking about is at least even credible enough for you to do some research and to add or contribute to the engagements and the discussion and the reasonment and the conversations that we do have on this platform. So we want to say thanks to all of you, and want to remind you again to go on over to the YouTube platform, click on the like, share, click on the notification bell, subscribe, click on the notification bell, and be sure to be informed every time we're having a program here on Real Entertainment Network. We want to encourage you to, join us again for another edition of the Topics, and then join us next week Tuesday for another edition of the Topics here on Real Entertainment again. And Monday we'll have Alan with Quality Time with Alan, and the programming continues here on Real Entertainment. The Real Entertainment Network team, enough respect to you guys. A lot of dedication, a lot of works behind the scenes. Enough love. Guidance, everybody. See you all around.
Yes, that's enough love, enough respect.
I'll wait for the cue from the technical team. So if not in the meantime, just want to say thanks to everybody for sticking and staying with us. We really appreciate you. We really, really appreciate you. You could be doing anything else. It's Friday evening. People are party. People are have fun. People are lime, as they would say in Nevis. Or you could be watching some other thing or so on, but you chose to log into us. Santoy, enough respect for the contributions that you've been making in Nevis and St. Kitts and Nevis and around the world as well, because you mentioned earlier, it's global works you've been doing, and I'm really happy that you're back. I'm really happy that you're back to try to. Yes, sir.
The technician had to go out, so if Mr. Barrett can exit, if you choose to, then we just continue the discussion and anything we choose to. But so when you come back, we'll say Mr. Barrett can exit. So Mr. Barrett, thanks again.
Okay, so now just want to say thank you both for having me on your show, The Topics, and I really appreciate it. It's been my pleasure, and I hopefully you could have me back on the program in a future date, because there's more that I have to say, and by then I would have been involved in this program to revive our culture. and we'll give you an update and what is the progress that we've made. But once again, the ball is in the court of the Nevis Island administration, and I just want to add that we won't leave out the adults who want to study. When the time comes, you would hear the advertisements on the radio, television, or the social medias, etc. Adults won't be left out. It's just that it would be a different program to that of the youth. So anyone who wants to learn to play the piano, bass, guitar, trumpet, trombone, etc., you will have a ways and means to reach me when the time comes, and it should be very soon. Right now, I would refrain from giving my number or anything like that. Not necessary as yet. Thank you both, brothers. Have a great evening.
Right, thank you.
Okay,
Yahsonn, go ahead.
It was really an honor.
So just stop it on your end to the bottom and stop the Mr. Barrett. Just stop it below. Press below the bottom and then stop it.
Okay. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Yahsonn, I think you got it there.
Yeah, but I'm getting some showers of blessings. So if you're hearing some sounds on the rooftop,
yeah,
you know what I mean, that's what's going on my end. So from the farming side of things, we give thanks and praises for that. Looking forward to a lot more days like these, where we could get some more showers of blessings. Yeah, Bankie, looking forward to another wonderful. I should say for me, it's going to be a wonderful agricultural expo, because I haven't been around for a number of years, so I'm kind of looking forward to that, and looking forward to being a part of that cannabis booth, because I remember being in California and saying, I would have loved to be a part of this experience. The Cannabis Cup is coming up as well, as you mentioned, and that is something to look forward to, the first ever in the Federation. We really should be getting more embracing from the government side versus what we're experiencing now, But I'll let you talk, because I'm sure you can hear the rain in the background, so I'll let you talk in the meantime.
Yeah, definitely I'm looking forward for the Agriculture Open Day at the end of this month, the 26th and the 27th, this 30 years. Being there within the department is one of my favorite times, where you have an extension, having different displays, different technology showing the different way of being created when it comes to recycling what you have to plant, and the plants don't know where it's at. Is you got to make the condition favorable for the plant, and taking care of the plant, preparing for this time, meaning have to start certain things to start planting early January, in December. So by the time in end of March, the crop have on fruit, whether it's in vegetables, bell peppers, eggplant, you want to show them in real time, in the end of the time, in pots or in tires or whatever technology you're using, that they can actually work. So that is something I was looking forward to walk through, see different displays and different ideas, whether it's aquaponics, hydroponic systems, small models and stuff like that are in the animal section, small husbandry, setting up a smart intensive farming system where cut and carry and all this different stuff. But the cannabis part of it, once you have that, that always be people just laugh, they didn't take part, and people just, once they come and they hear them, they just turn back. People came from St. Kitts. So what the agriculture department have to realize, once I did that, St. Kitts end up and copy and did a small thing at the agriculture food fair the same way. So it's something that the people, general public, look forward to. Is our be the most visited booth. So if they want this something to go forward, and ours want to be the agriculture fair to be a must and something different. A cannabis section is something that is most welcome, but not just me alone, because this is not about me. I'm just playing a role. I'm taking a bold step. I know I'm within my rights. I'm not gonna fringe. I'm not gonna buckle. I rather die a free man than die a slave, because I'm one of those who my rights been infringed on within. And I was never breaking any law, and that is the reality. I know the same government that is there went and take the same poisonous plant and now have it to be a non-poisonous plant. So how a non-poisonous plant is a problem if me raffle plant, a 6-foot plant, when you still want me, the same person, to go take part in a cannabis competition? But you should explain that one day to me. Me not understand that. Explain that one day.
I don't understand, but what I'm saying right now, right, I would love to see some evidence of that document that the Premier said he wrote to the Prime Minister and to the Attorney General, because that moratorium and that amnesty period is definitely needed at this time. He would have said that he would have done it. It would be very, very interesting to really see that, to have some evidence, because I'm finding a lot of back and forth, and it's kind of sad to see that Nevis is in this situation. Here is it that something is being done federally from the government side. I mean, there's a case that would have set the precedent for this thing. They were forced to, and seemingly it is. I mean, people would have been saying it for a number of years now, and what is being played out is making it seem like it's a political football, or something that is used to get some sort of leverage when it's coming close to an election or something, and the issue is brought up and something is being done, about what we are doing. You speak to some of the people in authority, and it seems as if they're talking as if like they don't know that these things are being passed. They don't know that these laws and regulations are in place. Even some of the people who are in the positions to effect the changes are seemingly like, and I mean, I am kind of baffled at, issues like these, when you realize that, hey, I mean, they went through the process of seeking to put some legislations in place because they were forced to some extent by the Sankofa case. Then, in terms of trying to put the regulations together, it is taking them from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, in 2026, and we have gone through 2 successive governments. We're not gone through. We have changed one government to the other, and the same problems that we had with the first government, we're having some improvements have been made, yes, to some extent, but similarly. And I say similarly because we look at, for example, and I like use precedents, look at how swiftly they have worked and seeking to push this SSZ legislation in place. Look how much efforts they are putting into trying to get a buy-in to this Destiny project. If they were putting even a third, may tell you 2/3, may say half, even a third of the attention that they are giving the SSZ, or they gave the SSZ to effect it, and to now be seeking to promote and get a buy-in from the Destiny, for the Destiny project, we would have been a lot further. But seemingly, it was just used as a political football, and election is coming up again. And I think I heard a comment. I have to go back to that interview, and I shouldn't say that interview, that panel discussion we had when we had the CEO for the Medical Cannabis Authority and the consultant from Jamaica, St. Vincent, I think, who was here. And one of the things highlighted, apart from what the commissioner said, it was also highlighted that is what the politicians said, that election is coming, and so they have to seem like they're doing something moving forward. So again, it is like a political gimmick. And so I am also, Bankie, using this rostrum, because a lot of the times, you and I, we know that a lot of people come to us and they're telling us, oh, we should talk about this and we should say this, and they like how we're doing this and how we're saying that. But at the same time, they seemingly are afraid to come forward and express themselves and hold these people accountable. Because at the end of the day, the game that is being played, here is it that you have three arms of government. You got the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. And they're playing games with us. It's one government. You have three arms, yes, but they're playing games with us because you have the executive putting some laws together and at the same time failing to regulate. And then you have the legislative now failing to accept the laws that have been put in place because they're claiming that, they have not put the regulations in place. So they're still sticking by what was there. When they know. And so they're willfully, as Bankie is saying, they're willfully doing these things because they're failing to, in some cases, to go and do the research for themselves to see that, well, these changes have been made. I realize the technician is back, and so we're going to close off. We're going to close off just now, Bankie. Yeah, go ahead.
No, just one before technician. Yeah, they want this technician to take part in the cannabis cup, to do everything for them and other girls, but then they can't raffle a ticket, but then have to pay to take part in this year cannabis cup $100. Well, how they get the one they work out when they tell the general them to say, you see this thing that makes sense? This thing that makes sense.
Bankie, I just read over what the Constitution say. So I mean, these are some games that they've been playing. Like I realized the other night we talk about the Constitution. You got the Constitution for citizens, and then you hear
that's the cannabis cup coming up. See there?
Yes, so
cannabis cup coming up soon.
Up soon, and it was mentioned the last time when we had that interview with the CEO when he was on the platform.
So who gonna go the weed? Who don't go the weed? The police, the Attorney General, Dr. Joe,
hold on, Bankie.
Mark,
hold on, Bankie.
Eric Evelyn,
hold on, Bankie. Remember, on Sin Kits, on Sin Kits, there's a growers organization, and these guys are open. When we had the cannabis event, there would have been a video showing some of these farmers and so on. So there is that level of understanding and collaboration that's going on in St. Kitts. My difficulty is we're supposed to have one federation.
When they had one?
That is happening,
happening
in St. Kitts. The cannabis event on St. Kitts. Cannabis.
Well, it's midday. What do you think there? Is midday where the Marriott?
Here's what I'm saying. You were there, right? But here's what I'm saying. They had, apart from your video, there was a video that was highlighted as a part of the promotion where they showed that they were having communication with growers and syndicate, and they were showing some of the growers and syndicate. So what I'm saying is they were not afraid to show the video to these people. So the point that you're making is that they are aware that they are local growers and they are local growers and syndicates who are given that sort of recognition. My difficulty is why is not the same thing happening on Nevis when it is one federation? So it's only one federation when it comes to certain things. So how come we can't get a fair share? How come we can't get a fair share of the cannabis deal and the cannabis lapse or relax of the law like we're getting on syndicate? How is it that the commission on syndicate is saying that the police in Nevis ain't got no work to do? That is why they are harassing people and charging people at 18. And then again, that leaves another question, because if it is decriminalized, how is it that you could lock up somebody in a time that is supposed to be decriminalized and still charge them and turn them into criminals? I mean, hey, we got some things to answer, but it's time for us to close out this edition of the topics, and we're leaving you with some of these things for you to ponder on as we continue, because we're not going to let up on this. This topic pretty easy. There's a lot of information that is necessary, and if we're going to take part in this cannabis cup, we have to have some understanding. So Bankie, like the Premier said, we're going to have to probably bring back the Premier and let him get his technical team. Let him know that we're going to be talking cannabis, or whoever else he need to be on with him that we can go through these things, because this needs to be addressed seriously. It needs to be addressed. So technician, we're going to wrap up. Give thanks. Enough love, everybody. See you guys next week. Monday for Quality Time with Alan, and then Tuesday for another edition of the Topics.
For your cannabis. So it's important now to sort of demonstrate that you are moving away from that prohibition. Like when I met with the police high in your command, the issue was raised that why is Nevis being targeted a lot more based on police arrests and convictions for her versus mainland St. Kitts, because that is an observation and trend which is observed, and so was police and navies don't really have much in terms of to do compared to saying, right? But the commissioner has made it clear that it needs to be a level playing field, and the education aspect of the officers need to understand that in order for this industry to move forward, a relaxed approach must be taken. Other countries have actually brought about amnesty periods. So the inception stage, the first 2 years, on amnesty, meaning that no person can be arrested in terms of cultivating cannabis, right? So it gives you a period to be able to grow and make some money and then come in and apply for your licensing. So,
I be having conversations.